there any corrections, additions to the minutes as presented?
I move approval.
It says agenda instead of minutes. I suggest you correct it, the labeling.
I move we adopt the minutes as amended.
Second.
Okay, move second. All in favor?
Aye.
Minutes are approved. Citizen comments. Does the citizen have a comment to make? Oh, there's Laura. Excellent.
She brought her baby.
This is citizen.
Okay.
Okay.
You sent me a PDF.
I copied the wrong thing?
No.
April 14th?
Yes, it did print out the same way as the agenda is rather than that, so.
We are then ready for the library director's report.
Notes on this one. I'm not sure you're supposed to.
Look at the graph. If Phil's not here to be just so happy about it.
One more. She can close the active item.
Oh, the monthly statistics? Yeah. I really started playing around with the monthly statistics because first of all, last month we talked about what we collect, and I started really looking at that and thinking about what we collect and why. And thing is that we get a report from Network every month, which has like a ton of statistics already made up for us. And so I really need to make sure that we have to go to the extra work that Debbie's been going to, so that that it's really worth it, because we already get another report that has circulation, that has this, that has that. And we would always be the ones that would have to do our own count on programs and attendance at things and stuff like that. Obviously, the network can add that. But so I'm trying to spend a little bit of time in between buying a building and moving a building and stuff like that, of looking at statistics and determining what is it that we need that is helpful, and what is it that we can do away with, so that because our staff resources are finite, and that's where a lot of this can be wasted and stuff like this. So that's why on this side of the page, I spent a bunch of time filling out this side of the page, and then I went to this side of the page, and I'm like, really, you need to tell people that, the current month is 0.9 less than last month or something, or can't they just look at it and kind of go, I can kind of figure this out? I can write it up, the narrative part I can write up, but that's another place where it's that's where you either have to input a formula and then, then you type it up and everything else. I don't know. I'm just really thinking, what do we need to have for statistics? So that's why it looks a little shorter on this side, but on this side, I would never change this completely until the end of the fiscal year. So, I'll keep this the same all year, and then I'll be very careful as to what I change, because that's the thing. Then you run into problems from year to year as far as comparing apples to apples. It gets a little bit tougher. So that's why when you think about what you start with statistics, it's really important to think about what you start. So that's statistics. We're not as busy as we were a year ago, but we've been very busy. Well, it just depends on what area you're in. The juvenile situation was intense. 18,500. That's 5,000 more than last year at this time. Who knows what was going on? And that's the other thing. You kind of go, well, what is it? So the number's bigger, but what is it that changed things? The number doesn't really tell you. It just tells you to start looking for something.
Well, it doesn't really tell us. We have a number of books that are checked out, but how many people actually check books out? I've seen situations where I've seen people with basically a cartload of books checking out at one time. That's kind of, it's useful, but it'd be nice to know if the average person checks out three items, and we have, 16,000 cards being used during the month. That would be more useful than that.
Yeah, I could probably tell you the number of cards. But to get a real door count is really tricky, and I think we talked about that a little bit last month. First of all, we don't have a door counter that even takes note of somebody as they go in or out. And what libraries do that have those, they start by dividing that by half, because you figure if somebody comes in, they're going to go out. Well, then there's all the staff that does that. I mean, so it's just never really accurate, but we could definitely get a number of like how many cards checked out books. I think we could do that. And that might tell us more. Yeah, and that might tell us more actually.
Dave Morey, but also there's the complication of parents who take out books for the whole family, and then there's also those that live in the area where there's no library district and they buy cards for the whole family. One card for the whole family.
Oh, right.
The thing is, those would be items which would stand out. I mean, the system would be able to identify anybody who's purchased a card. We could discount that. That would be something you automatically want to do, is take anybody who purchased a card and separate them out as a statistic.
Very few.
Really
and
it's still using
most of the county is covered, you know, so it's very good.
And the people that are in Damascus or, you know, the other Johnson City, they're not coming over to Oregon City to check out books, I would think. They'd be hitting probably Westland or the...
unless they work in Oregon City.
Right. But
and that we don't know.
Yeah,
that's some of those unknown things.
Right.
Those factors, yeah.
And one odd factor I notice at the bookstore, when we thin out the children's books so the nicer stuff is there and the kids can see the books, they sell faster than when we have the shelves jammed. And your shelves aren't jammed anymore.
Yeah.
And maybe getting down to the better books and being able to see them a little better is increasing some of it.
Yes, we're working on that hoarding mentality and going to more like, you know, ooh, open shelf, I can see what I'm looking like. We're working on that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Well, I'm really impressed with the materials withdrawn statistic.
Huge, isn't it? And Jeff did all the work with the stuff once it got withdrawn. Thank you so much to the Friends of the Library. Oh my gosh. So yeah, that's a huge number. That's the biggest it's been in a billion years.
That counts. April, I don't have the previous months. How many have we withdrawn so far?
Yeah, that's.
We started in March.
The other thing I didn't get.
Well, current fiscal year is 17,000 compared to 2,000 last year, and we have maybe 2 months left in the fiscal year.
And we still are, and they're still withdrawing. All the automobile books are ready for you to pick up tomorrow.
We're not bringing anything down to my personal postal order. We will do it the following week.
They're running out of space.
In March, 1,412 was
yeah, but that's okay. I was just, you know, the withdrawal really speeded up. I could tell by the fact that you were bringing 6 to 7 cards a day over to us.
We finally got the picture. Like, we are moving. These have to go in boxes. You don't want, you know, even if you have all the space in the world that you don't have to pay for, why move something that you don't want to see at the other end? Mm-hmm. So that's the thing. That is quite the thing. You have to touch it that many more times.
Talking to the staff, as I was doing a lot going back and forth, they all got the gist of it. With the sale, it was amazing, and how enthusiastic they were too. It's like they're really just thrilled.
We're already confusing.
Well, judging by some of some of the things I jumped before the sale even started, and I really didn't do too much cleaning out. It was a lot.
So this little graph, it was just something I could pull real easily off the statistics that Joanna from Network sent me. And I just thought, well, this is kind of visual, and that's kind of what Phil was looking for. We can do a lot of different things, and I'm just kind of learning how to do Excel graphs. I took this little class, and of course I remembered how to do it all the second I left the class, and then I went home and I 2 days and forgot how to do it.
Your months are 1 through 10?
I know, and I couldn't figure out how to label them.
Is it?
Honestly, I tried like everything.
So it started with
July.
It's a process, right?
Absolutely.
Thank you for saying that. There's a smile on your face. I appreciate it.
I wonder what happened in August.
I don't know. Maybe everybody went on vacation.
Everybody checked the books out in July for vacation.
Yeah. I know. Well, when you look, I mean, it looks like there's a lot of variation because of the graph, but when you think about it, that's like less than 10,000.
Right up.
You know, I don't know, it kind of goes up and down within that range.
Or 48 to 56.
So our collection, our own collection that we own is about 103,000 items, which of course now has gone down by some. Well, that's where we are as of like a week ago or something, so who knows where we are. But, so when you delete like 8,000 or so, it's not 10%, but it's getting darn close to 10%, which is pretty interesting.
103,000 is books, tapes.
It's everything. It's everything. Magazines, it's all kinds of stuff. Yeah, which a lot of that, as you know, we really should have dumped a long time ago. It really, we're going through and this reference library and stuff, maybe we should be getting rid of all these precious items. But, of course not. But, I mean, this is the condition alone warrants that, some of the stuff should not be on the shelf. And, it's a different mentality now that we know we have district funds. We don't have to hang on to every last thing, like we might never have money to buy another book again. So,
and their funding isn't dependent on what goes in that.
That's right. Yeah, it's stable. So that's really.
Do you think maybe we should start with the obvious?
Oh, I know. I'm sorry. I'm very linear. It says monthly report and staff.
Library.
Sorry. There's a reason that I am a librarian.
And you will be sound to ask about announcement over downtown.
Library facility planning?
Well, you need to move it down.
I just did move it down.
It's still showing citizens count.
Seriously?
Yeah.
Why did that get in red?
There we go. Now we're coming down.
Are you ready now for library facility? Where is it?
Okay.
Consider it. No. You may not have been able to
Oh, dear. Oh, dear.
saying the same thing.
Oh, my goodness. So, library facility planning. As you know, the City Commission approved the sales contract last Wednesday, and the school board approved it this Monday night. Both of those actions are a little bit contingent on us getting the language in the deed of trust and the promissory notes cleaned up to everybody's satisfaction, but they're very, very small things that we're just saying, whatever. And that's on its way. So once that's approved, because those are attachments to the sales contract, so we can't just start off without those being included too. The City Commission, you don't have to go back to anybody. They just said, okay, this is how you're going to get it done, and if you run into a problem, then we go back to them, but there's no problem in sight, so don't worry about that. So once the attorneys are happy with that language, you start our due diligence period. And so this is kind of good that we're not just jumping right into that. This gives you a little bit of breathing space. And that's a 60-day period of inspections. So I'm working with Matt Newstrom, who helped Scott Archer with this project here, on getting the inspectors lined up and an estimate of what that's going to cost and stuff to go to get the appropriate inspections up at Eastham in the next 60 days once that period starts. Once we have all those reports and we've looked at them and we know what we're purchasing and everybody feels fine about there's no surprises or whatever, that's what this is mostly to uncover, or if something needs fixing, we have a good estimate of what it would cost to get fixed or whatever. Then we start our rezoning. That could start already. I mean, we could start that process. It's just that since we're also moving into the Carnegie in the next 60 days too, actually even less, the next 30 days, I kind of like to maybe slow down on the rezoning and let that start once we get the due diligence underway and the move kind of has proceeded. And I know it's going to take a long time to do the rezoning, so I don't want to wait any longer than we have to. But on the other hand, if something pops up in the due diligence period, we don't want to invest a whole bunch of time in the rezoning that then, is for naught. So I think waiting just a few weeks is fine on that. That's kind of what I have in mind. I can juggle two things at once, but I'm not sure about the three things. So that is real happily moving forward, and I think I'm getting a lot of positive feedback on it. It seems like people generally feel pretty good about that direction. And also during the 60 days, we have to make sure that we get the language that we like about the reversionary clause from the county lined up. So that's another thing. So,
and what's that? And what's
The original deed that went from the county to the school district said that if it stopped being a public school or a public park, then the property should revert to the county. And they've agreed that we're certainly meet the spirit of public use, and they're not willing to do away with it completely, but they're willing to write something in that says, you know, any municipal use as you determine, including small commercial venues such as a coffee shop, etc., so that we could basically, you know, do what we want there, but we probably can't like split it in half and sell the other half and develop it with a private developer.
Did we ever figure out how it came into county ownership?
That's really unclear. And there will have to be a title search and all that stuff at some point.
Because I'm still lost when the city gave it to the school district, and now we turn around and 30 years later it belonged to the county.
It's kind of, remember there's those two documents, and on one of them it says city, and on the other one it says county?
Yeah, but both of those were actually selling it to the district. So one was the county and one was the city. And it's like it was in the district's hands in the 1890s, and somehow in the 1920s it was in the county's hands. So that's going to be an interesting time to see.
Okay, so I mean there can be all kinds of little bumps that we still experience, you know. In fact, I fully expect them because this project has been one of leaping over barriers in Superwoman and all that stuff. So, you know, I'm just come to expect it, not a problem.
So do you need the board's support to start the rezoning after the due diligence period has elapsed?
I don't know.
Okay. Because I'm with you.
I mean, I appreciate your support, but yeah, I mean, I think as far as timing, that's, you know, we'll just apply our resources as that seems reasonable.
There will be, what, public hearing then at the
there will be like all kinds of stuff.
So you will just give us a little heads up. This is where we're supposed to be.
All the heads up, yeah. Well, what we're going to have to do is we're going to have to put out an RFP for the rezoning because it's such a big project that it's going to have to get agreed, the contract will have to be agreed upon by the city commissioners and stuff. So that's, you know, I mean, maybe I could start doing some of that kind of stuff here pretty soon. That would be the thing for me to start on. But, yeah, that makes a lot of sense. But, yeah, you guys are going to have, like, so much notice about stuff. You know, because then I expect to get schooled by the planning department and whatever group we choose to help us walk through this to, like, well, what are the major steps? What's the time frame? You know, and I'll definitely pass all that on to you guys. Because, and maybe I'll bring my husband to a meeting. He can tell us about planning. All those years. So that's what's going on. The Carnegie move is moving forward really nicely. I just talked to the Comcast guy today. He's providing internet, and so all that stuff is moving forward up there. All the park stuff that is not staying has been moved out. It's starting to look a lot more like a library. The shelves are in place. We can start envisioning what's going on. So in addition to like the weaving and the boxing that we're starting to do up at our place, we're kind of getting some momentum. Yeah. So I'm really excited. We mostly just kind of want the next month to be over with. You know what I mean? It's like, let's just get through this next month and be somewhere where there are windows. It's my goal in life. Yeah. So as far as like staffing, that's been interesting to try and figure out what we want to do there because, you know, we don't want to like just lay everybody off because it's a smaller building, and we've talked about this before. We want to kind of like line ourselves up so that when we move into Eastham, we have the ability to cover spaces. And so right now, Jim Leffler is helping me clarify a couple of the job descriptions for library assistants. So, because like, for instance, Library Assistant 3, which is our highest library assistant level, it looks like they only could be hired to do circulation duties and technical services duties. Well, there's all kinds of stuff that a Library Assistant 3 can do in addition to that. You know, there are other parts of the library that aren't well described there. So we just kind of made sure that that was more broadly defined so that we could hire Library Assistant 3 maybe to specialize in technology, which is where we need some help, for instance. So we may be doing some, once we get that done, we may be doing some in-house applications to see if we can move some people around. So we'll see how that goes. And then the reference librarian situation, we have 2 floors, and of course, downstairs is the children's room. And in the children's room is going to be a checkout area, because like, why go upstairs if while you're checking out this children's book? And because of that, and because of how small it is, it's not like there's going to be this huge need for children's reference. So we're putting Sue back in adult reference so that she can focus on, she's our permanent reference person, so she's going to be taking that over that main chunk, and we're going to put a library assistant downstairs and give them whatever appropriate training they need. And because of that, we don't need as many on-call reference librarians. So in order to be fair, we have 5 of them, and we need 2 under the new kind of schedule. We're going to do kind of some informal interviewing, which is kind of, it feels a little odd because these are professional people who have been around for quite a long time, and now we're asking them to interview just to hang on to 1 day a week. But I mean, they're on call, you know, that's a very temporary situation, and I think they kind of forgot that along the way, but they understand. So Karen and Linda are going to help with that because it was advised that, you know, get at least 1 other outside non-completely so biased person in the mix on the interview, which will just be like a little 20-minute, half an hour thing, you know. So that's kind of what we're doing with that. It's going to be really, really interesting to be located at the Carnegie because of all the kids in the park and stuff. I just went over there to let the Comcast in, and here's these 2 darling children who were like riding their scooters up and down the ramp. And I'm like going,
My 5-year-old loves that ramp.
Yeah. It is going to be an issue. You know, here comes the wheelchair, there comes the ramp, you know, the scooter, and I'm like, oh. And then I was like downstairs in the bathroom area, and I was thinking, you know, okay, splash pool, bathroom, splash pool, bathroom. Okay, we're gonna get a contract for some nets. You know, so like all those little things we're trying to think of now ahead of time because, you know, the kids are gonna have a lot better access to bathrooms than, of course, any adult, and that's fine. But the level of traffic just with bathrooms alone, oh my gosh, you know. So, yeah. So as we do our interviewing with the people who want to bid on the cleaning job there for the, you know, for the year, you know, I'm like going, okay, at least in the summertime, I think we're going to have a lot of bathroom activity, and then there's the concerts in the park. And we agreed with the park people that we would stay open for at least the first one, to have that Thursday night, which is in July sometime, whatever, and see how it goes. But if people really trash the bathrooms, forget it. Because it's my responsibility to keep that building nice.
And the bathrooms separate from the actual library?
They can be locked off, yeah.
Okay.
You can go in, and you can leave back door open, and then everything else can be locked off. So, but if that doesn't work, you know, then, sorry, I'm going to shut it down. And they can rent porta potties or whatever. Because we just, you know, that's a big responsibility. It's a beautiful building. It's been, you know, renovated, really well taken care of, although it does need paint. And, you know, I want to be sure that it doesn't get all messed up under my watch, or that I have to put a ton of money into it, fixing it, you know.
The concert patrons will appreciate you, and they don't seem to be the kind of crowd that you'll have an issue with. It's old folks like me.
You just never know.
The other day, too, I know it was fun, and it was not harmful, but there were a lot of kids playing on those bad steps and things, so. They have fire access for.
Oh, these 2 little guys that I saw, they were up by the big flower pot by the front stairs where there's that ledge, and I was just like, so, you know, I can just see the librarians are going to be the big bad meanies running the kids off, you know, so we're going to have to come up with a few little techniques or something, I don't know. But it's just going to be different because they're not used to having somebody living at that building.
I think the birds are fed on the birds in my pool.
Well, and if you're reworking the job descriptions for the staff, who will be in charge of paper products in the bathroom during the day?
Oh, yeah, exactly. I mean, yeah, we may have to work that into somebody's job. Yeah, definitely. That's a really good point. So, you know the fun things I'm thinking about? Actually, it's really fun to think about. I had a ball.
What's your final thought then?
Final footprint? Okay, so you walk in the front door. This is how I just can only describe it. Certainly, you walk in the front door. To your left is a checkout desk, a self-check, and then new stuff on those built-in shelves. Okay. Then there's some shelves we're bringing from current location that will have like paperbacks and some not new but newer fiction, stuff like that. And then there'll be some stuff along the back wall, which will be like newspapers and magazines. And then you have the seating area, and those will have the magazine racks around them too. And then on the right as you come in, there will be an information desk. And that's where you can place holds, get your library card, that kind of stuff. Yeah, we're splitting kind of how the circulation desk is set. Well, we'll see. You know, that means you have to have two people like kind of all the time, so it makes it real different. And my desk will be in the corner right there because we couldn't put it anywhere else with little walls around it. Absolutely no privacy. That will be a test of my,
No windows.
windows. Yeah, there's a window there.
No, around her desk.
No, there will be
It'll be in the little kids' corner. The little low oak is.
there will be a window right there.
Mm-hmm.
And then AD will be in front of me on the other side of my wall. That'll be all AD right there. That'll be theater there on the right. Then the long room in the back, that'll be the reference area. We're going to put holds out for the public to get their own holds with the spine down so nobody can see the title. Spine down, name out. And some nonfiction back there, that will be where the microfilm machine is, copier, stuff like that, with the reference librarian. Okay? And the small room off to the right and upstairs, that will be the circulation work area. And that, we're making that bathroom upstairs a staff bathroom. And so that would be all the check-in and stuff like that goes on. We still haven't discussed, okay, where people drop their books off inside. We're ordering a book drop for outside. Outrageously expensive, you wouldn't believe it, but we can move it up to Eastham, so that's fine. We can double use it. And then downstairs will be children's. And one small corner will be young adults. Another small corner will be Linda's little cubby. A corner in the back will be cataloging and TS. And then, so the rest of it, we're taking the long shelving unit from children's and kind of placing it right down the middle. It's both ways, we're not so sure. And there's the kitchen, and then there's the storage room, which used to be the technical services area, where the ceiling is now too low to use as occupied all the time. So we're going to make that the staff lunchroom because there is no kitchen staff. And some maybe a copier and some storage and stuff like that. Okay. And so that's the layout.
Good.
We'll see once we get everything in there. It supposedly fits. It will be kind of like a branch, in how much we should have.
There's less computers.
Yeah.
And are you changing the amount of time that people are able to access?
I hadn't even thought about that. I would.
I mean, because otherwise
it could be a huge lineup.
Yeah.
Well, right now we only have 2 hours a day, 1 hour at a time, which is not a lot.
Well, 1 hour is a long time.
Yeah.
Are you going to get laptops?
Well, not immediately. Okay. I'm looking for those reconditioned laptops or whatever, and the only ones I can find so far, they're they're kind of an auction kind of thing, so you have to really stay on it all the time, and I just haven't had the time to really stay on it. So that's a good idea.
And where's Stiff Company?
Well, that's still up in the air too, but the fire station and we think that we can talk the fire station out of 4 of those spaces at the Ermitanger. They're not assigned to anybody, but they tend to use them during the day because they can. And so 2 of them are already staying for the Carnegie, and the other 4 are 2-hour ones. I'm sure they don't move their cars around. I just bet they don't. But if we could get those 6 for daytime use for the staff, that would be perfect. And it sounds like we probably could because they said that their busy time is from 7 to 8 in the morning. Well, hardly any staff is even at the library between 7 and 8. So they could use them all they want up until 8 o'clock in the morning. That would be fine. And that's when the shift is changing and stuff. So that's why it's busy. So that would be the best place. Although the street behind the Carnegie, that upper, what's that? Jefferson? that's all day parking. And so people could park up there and walk downhill to it. You know, if they're there first thing in the morning.
Yeah, absolutely. Parking up there, don't
Not if they're there first thing in the morning when you get there.
the offices that are up there who have people coming in for like an hour.
I know, but like, if I get there in the morning before they start coming though, then I have that space all day. That's all I'm saying, is that that would be possible for certain staff. And now that I can walk to City Hall, I won't move my house.
Sure.
Yeah.
Well, you can use the Pioneer Center lot across
You can.
John Adams.
Yeah, we don't want to push that too much, but Kathy has said we could use that some. But I want to work out with the fire station thing. Because I think that's like right there, you know.
And will you do this parking when they start to work on the church extension?
We might. But that might be a while before that goes through too, so, yeah. That's a good point. Parking is just, it's not good there, as you know. So let me write that note down of cutting down time.
One other thought with the computer, I know that many of the Multnomah branches have one or two computers where you can just check email quickly.
Yep, like 15 minutes even. Yeah, EPL had one of those. That's a really good idea. We were thinking about like doing away with our Envisionware because it's like only 4 computers to control. And we don't have that much room for more computers, you know, to like set up the control units and everything. But on the other hand, the thing about Envisionware is not only does it kick people off after their allotted time, it shuts them down at night. So you don't have to be like the big bad policeman and come by and kick them off. It's really pretty nice. So Linda's like against having it because of space, but you know, Sue is like for it because she'll be the person enforcing, and we'll figure it out at some point. We'll probably like not start with something and then move to it because it'll be obvious, you know. And that's the thing. I mean, things might change as they go along. You know, it's like the laptops. We don't have to have the laptops on opening day. You know, we'll get it figured out.
How do you get a lot of people to check them out and use some of them as space?
Yeah. So like we take your driver's license or something like that, something valuable, so that if, you know, they really wanted to walk away with it, they really knew they were gonna use out. That would be the idea.
Does that affect monitoring for inappropriate content or anything?
We can set it up however we want. So usually I think when people do laptops, they make it so that it's the same, you know? Yeah. You still agree to a policy.
You're setting up the actual parameters for the internet connection, so you can limit it any way you want, even though it's a laptop. It doesn't make any difference. In fact, you can set it up so that it can't connect to a different network, so the person taking it out of the building would be useless.
Yeah, we could do a lot of things, you're right.
And those are all just normal security measures you can add to it.
Yeah, good idea. So what else? There's other stuff going on, but it's like in days by day. I'm trying to get the second IGA signed, but I'm in the needing to collect some information and write a memo for David because he's new, he wants more information about it, and that's fine. It just takes time. But now that we like actually have like a building in our sites, I want to make sure that our county money is secured. And so, you know, that kind of stuff goes on too.
Have you been able to deal with sign issues for the Carnegie? Are you just going to have some banners or something saying we are here?
Since I am a city department, I'm going to try very hard not to be illegal, and virtually everything is illegal unless it's run by the review board or whatever. So what I was going to start with was I was going to put up a banner on the inside facing out through one of the windows somehow, or the door or something. I don't know. I have yet to design that and think about it. That seems to make the planning department really, really happy when I said that. I want them to be happy.
There just needs to be something announcing at least the first week we are here.
Yeah. Well, people will see that book drop. They'll know there's a library there.
How are you going to work at getting the books from the book drop into the library? Somebody have to go out there with a cart several times a day.
Yeah, it'll be by the ramp. It'll be over on that side of the building by where the ramp ends.
So they'll have to walk over to drop them in.
Yeah, they can go use the elevator and all that stuff. So, yeah, we thought we might be able to fit it like downstairs right outside the door down there, and make people come down the ramp or the stairs, but it's just too small. There's no way. Book drop the way to do that. So.
Assuming the book drop will have things mixed. Does it have separate for the?
Well, we could get that fancy, but it costs several $1,000 more. So we thought we wouldn't. We would just put everything together, and occasionally we'll get a crush case, and we know that. But that's like we're used to replacing those two. So we'll see how this goes. I mean, it's still several $1,000.
You put a nice little sign up that says, please return AV material inside, and some people will ignore it and some people will pay attention.
Well, we could do that, except that when we're closed, we don't want to confuse people. So, and that's really what it's there for. Hopefully people will bring stuff inside, and we can put up a sign saying that please bring your things inside if we're open. Yeah, signage is like, I just was looking up at the ceiling in our current building today for some reason, and I'm going, oh yeah. So, but hopefully they'll be useful somewhere else, so we'll see. Lots and lots of little details.
Well, to go back to due diligence, are there any concerns in terms of what the architect is saying, or folks that are advising you or saying they're looking for specifically, or is it more just, if they find something leaky roof, we're going to put it in for them?
Well, yeah, because it's older, they'll be in some kind of environmental thing, and I think that's what people are mostly a little bit worried about is hazardous materials. And we already know there's those piles up there.
And the piles being asbestos.
They've got asbestos in them, and so what the schools are doing is just keeping them sealed or covered, and then and replacing them a classroom at a time. So I think that we would probably say, well, let's not replace something if we don't know what we're going to do with it in the future. So let's make sure it's sealed, and then once we know what we're going to do with it in the future, then we just know we have to deal with it in the appropriate manner. So at some point in time, it will cost us money, and we can get an estimate of that. But we, don't have to do it like the school's been doing it, because.
But most of the hazardous materials that is done in the new wing in the fire section, we won't be using at all.
Right, but who knows what we're going to do with it in the future?
Well, the thing is, especially if we start running it to the city for other departments,
right,
we can make it their requirement that they clean it up before they use it.
Well, I like the way you say.
I mean, if they want the space for, which is what they're going to be looking for, cheap space, well, fine, help us out by you clean it up.
Yeah, so, exactly. So in the meantime, we'll just make sure that it's safe, covered or sealed in one way or the other, and know that it's there. That's the only thing I really know about, but, I think just because it's a 60-year-old building, people will be putting special attention. There's nothing, of course, that the school has said, and, it's to their detriment not to say something ahead of time. They don't want us to find things so. But, yeah, for sure, environmental. And then also, like, the condition, like the boiler, for some reason, that boiler has this fantastic reputation. People who have worked there say, that boiler will last forever. Well, obviously it won't, but I don't think it's going to blow up in the next 5 years or something, but someday we will have to replace it if we stay there, So, it would be, it would be good to know, like, how long people estimate the life of that thing will be, and then what it would cost to replace it. I mean, you want to go into the purchase with that kind of information. So,
when you were looking at additional hours, how have you spent the last several weeks there from about 9:30 or 10 o'clock in the morning, seeing the number of people that stack out outside at 10 o'clock? Have you given any thought to opening earlier to the 10?
I thought about it, but that's not a change I want to make immediately because that's like too many hours. I would feel like we would want to then go to 10 o'clock, which is what we worked at Eugene, virtually every day of the week except maybe Sunday, which a lot of people just keep that very short. So I thought that the first thing we should address is the fact that, like, we also have people beating on our doors on Friday evening at 5 when we close at this ridiculous hour. So just adding, like, those 3 hours gives us, like, more cushion those 3 days of the week and lines us much more up with, like, you know, like real life people and stuff. Closing at 5, that's ridiculous. So, but I think that's a good idea and something to think about in the future, and that's something that if we can get our staffing figured out monetarily, that would be something that when we move into Eastham we could consider. You know, because there are people out there.
Every day that I was there, there were people.
We would probably get, if we opened at 8 o'clock, we would probably get people. You know.
So I noticed at the time that most people ended up even coming up to drop off their books or to sit on the bench or to do whatever. It was right about 10.
But that might also just be a function of they only have So if you open it at 10, they might be showing up at midnight.
Yeah, it's hard to say, but I mean, you know, it's a good thought.
Reasonable people do get up and go.
I was also amazed at how many people sat outside by the phone booths for hours and hours. Figure out what they were waiting for because it obviously wasn't a ride or anything.
Yeah.
The great example is you're standing at the phone booth with a cell phone at the rear. That's the best part. I like that.
Oh, it's a good thought, Harriet. Like at Eugene, we were open from at 10 to 6 or 10 to 8, depending on the day. Exactly.
But I really appreciate the 6 because
Fridays, that's the word. People are trying to get their polls before the weekend or whatever, you know, and it just feels criminal to not be open. So.
Has there been any changes in regards to projections in terms of how long the remodel will take? Estimated cost of $1.8 million.
Yeah, for now. I mean, that could change. Hopefully not too radically, but that could change once we get a real architect on it. Not the design team that we planned on. You know,
would it take more time and
energy? Because that was like a kind of a quick, you know, thing. So we have to realize that was just an estimate, an educated estimate, but still. So yeah, no, not yet. No, at all. So, I don't want to be in Carnegie any longer than I have to. Just because of service, you know. I mean, I think it will work out fine as a home, and I think people will like having us there. I think all that will be fine, but just, you know, it's really a reduced service level for everybody. Although we will have story time and summer reading programs, and those will be, summer reading programs will be at the Planning Center. So.
Have you resolved the issue where you're storing things?
I can report to you that we went to Jackson School yesterday and viewed their former library, and once it gets cleaned out, it will work out fine for it. And they're looking into how long we can keep it there. I mean, obviously we can keep it there as long as there's no space at Eastham. That's not a problem. It's just that. And he goes, and you can move it at August. And I'm like, well, that's right. Have a few more months. I'm not in no rush once it gets moved there, you know. And then he's like, oh, you know what? Maybe we can just like work together on getting it over there a bit at a time. I'm like, I like that. So we'll see how it goes. But we have Jackson, and then the other thing is that we found out the shelving, all the shelving. At first we were like going, okay, let's just do away with it and get new when we move into Eastham. And then we were like, then somebody came along who said, with related expertise, and said, you know what, shelving is shelving. We can like cut these down, we can do this, we can do that, blah, blah, blah. Let me work up a figure on it. So we worked up a figure on it, and it's like, now we're back to like, no shelving. So, because it just costs too much to like, move it, store it, move it, get it fixed. So like it would cost, in order to, first of all, I've never liked how tall it is. It's way too tall. It like, you know, blocks, and we use all the shelves, which is like very obvious that we don't have enough shelving. Or you're using all the shelves. You can't even like see up that high, then you have to bend down all the way to the floor. So first of all, I don't even like having that shelf up there. So if you cut off the shelving, you could do it, but it would cost like $400 per every 36 inches or something ridiculous. So it really, really starts adding up fast. And then on top of it, you know, our shelving doesn't all match each other. So then you end up with shelving that still doesn't match each other. Well, if you're going to renovate something, I mean, I know it's a big expense, but you want it to look nice, you know. So I'm pretty convinced at this point in time that it's not worth moving the shelving. So we'll take care of it in a different way. And that way, if we're just moving like equipment and furniture and materials and not have to worry about the big, big shelving stuff, then the school facility is more than sufficient. It's great. And it's on concrete pad. I mean, it was their former library, so it had to be able to hold. It's right on concrete. I feel really good about it.
So I'm assuming the multimedia shelving will go to the Carnegie with the multimedia items.
Yeah.
Because that's new. We just bought that.
Yeah, I know, and that's really nice. And it's lower, you know what I mean? So like some of the lower stuff we're like, okay, we don't want to get rid of necessarily. A lot of that smaller and lower stuff will come with us to the Carnegie. We're not buying any new shelving for the Carnegie except what we had to do to replace the shelves for the built-ins. So, you know, those will be there for a long time.
And do we have any responsibility putting the artwork in Carnegie in the temporary?
You know, I keep forgetting to ask about that. We have artwork that you never see because it's way up high and it's really, really dark. And I'm going to have to do something with some of that, but that's not to say that that's what we want in Carnegie. It would be nice to have something really nice over the fireplace.
Hey, as long as we're on streaming video, if anybody's watching, if anybody knows where the WPA mural of Dr. McLaughlin that used to hang above the fireplace is, it would be nice to put that back. But the question is, nobody seems to know where the murals are from the 40s, so I'd love an answer to that.
Let's see, some temporary artwork. Yeah, I mean, we want it to look nice, you know, and there's some nice blank walls.
And that invests a lot of money in it if we're not going to use it.
Right. Yeah. I'm sure we can find something.
Well, and somebody did go back and come up with as much as they could on the artwork that is hanging there. So the stuff that's up too high for anybody to see, they actually, you know, determined who the artist was who donated it. So all of that has a nice history with the library. And it's not all the most gorgeous, but it's good local scenery.
Yeah, well, I like the thing that's in my office that just needs to be fixed.
Oh, the panorama?
The panorama view of the falls. It's beautiful. It's a photograph. It's wonderful. So we can get that fixed and put that up. That would look tremendous.
Definitely.
About 5 feet long or something.
Yep. Out of Oregon City Sporting Goods.
Yeah, it's a good question.
Okay, is there any other questions, or can we move on to the Friends of the Oregon City Library report?
Well, we didn't have a meeting yet, so I'm going to ask Karen to give us some reports on the bookstore. Are you prepared, Karen?
The bookstore is doing fine. We're down a little bit since the antique mall moved out, but it doesn't seem to be majorly impacting our business. We do clearly have our own customers, and we have lots of books right now.
And we'll have a better report next month. Harriet, give us a report on the book sale.
Well, the last book sale on May 7th and 8th, we took in $1,762.22. So if you add that to the March one, which was right around $650, I don't know exactly, made over $2,400 on especially some of that was
for a buck.
Well, the first one was a quarter, 25 cents, $500.
A lot of hard work, you guys.
We thank the library for cleaning house.
The library thanks
There are still 2 office chairs left next door, and I said to Julie, because they were the bad ones.
Yeah, right, I know.
And I really don't mind if we left them. She says, no, big deal. Because she now has the keys back.
Okay, good.
And so we are all done, but we got rid of, I think we moved 6 chairs over, and we got rid of 4 of them.
Great.
At $5 apiece.
That's not bad. Those people are going to be sorry.
Her
backs are going to be sore.
And Mount Pleasant is waiting for the right on board. They're going to come.
They came by. Yeah.
Great. Linda's been marvelous. She's been there almost every single day with me, setting it up.
Very marvelous.
And you guys are saying, let's face it.
And we're so.
The Lindstroms have been there on both sales a lot of hours. And just a lot of people really helped the Aubreys and Brad and some of our volunteers. It's been a really great, and the guard, his last name all of a sudden I can't remember.
Our one?
Yeah. Coordinated, and so thank heavens on Friday, he also provided us with 2 young men. And they helped us, and we would have been really in problems because we took in, of that 1,700, we took in over 1,000 in like the first 2 to 3 hours on Friday. It was just wild, and I was really pleased because a couple of people that they weren't sure they could come showed up. Janice Dennison and Karen Coleman were there, and it was bizarre. All of the books were loaded up between 2 and 3 yesterday, and an 18-foot covered van, covered trailer, and they're now in Lake Oswego at the Recycle Center, which was surprised when they arrived with it because the office that I told on Monday, their main office, I said, do you need to schedule or anything? And he says, no problem. And I said, maybe probably 100 boxes or so. And I said, no problem, no charge, no nothing. And I got a phone call from the guard, and it was they weren't expecting us. Did you schedule? And I was told we didn't need to schedule. I told them we were coming. So they're gone. And there was a threat. Karen threatened if I set up one more flatbed truck full of books to the bookstore. But some of them had gone out.
No, I understand that. Hold myself there.
We almost snuck up, and I started talking to Dan about maybe using the elevator and taking some upstairs. So far, we're actually still managing in the workroom, but I'm not quite sure for how long.
Well, there's also a few children's videos and books in Lynn's garage.
Oh, no, really?
Well, they're good enough for the farmers market, but it's changing for farmers market.
All right, excellent.
Farmers market will take care of most of the kids' videos.
Having done an empty box for
I was looking for a couple in the back, but I've got my kid coming tomorrow to help me pack up my personal stuff. Oh, listen to this. He goes to Occidental. He works for the office that's been moving out of their building for the last 3 months because they're getting it renovated. So all he's been doing is packing boxes for the last 3 months. He's going to be at school. I can't wait.
Very good.
Yeah.
Also, I guess for any board member who's not aware of it, but Mo came over and toured the space upstairs from the bookstore. We've rented a large storage space, and we've offered to make it available for whatever the library needs, and possibly as a volunteer workspace.
Well, and I realize, if you don't mind if I jump in, when you mentioned volunteers, I haven't mentioned the volunteers at all. I have a draft letter to volunteers that Linda's going to send out once we decide on the language, and just kind of say, hey, I know you've lots been going on, here's what is going to happen with your volunteer time. I mean, anything you want to happen to it will, but here's some options for you. And mention the space at the Friends of the Library, that we can have like a mending table set up for them if they want to keep mending, and we can just walk back and forth and do that, because we'll be so close. It's going to be really nice.
The car will be so close to between.
Yeah, it will be so close in between. So I need to get that letter out to the volunteers really soon, and we'll send hard copy because so many people don't have emails. And then the other thing that we'll attach to that is our list of FAQs that I just wrote up last week that I wanted to mention. That's posted on our website. All city staff has gotten it. All of the Clackamas County libraries have received it. The city commissioners have received it. So it's on Facebook. It's pretty good. For printed, and at the library there's hard copies. So it's pretty been widely distributed. Because that kind of helps people understand what's going to happen while we're closed and all that stuff. So, thank you very much.
Do you get all terrain deals for a book cart?
Probably could. It's fun. Maybe put a little motor on
For
it.
the one that stands out, of course.
Yeah, a golf cart. I think that's sweet.
Extra cushion.
Well, anyway, that's about
I want to really say bigger. Harriet, thank you so much, and we'll make a big deal out of it next week at the Friends meeting, but I want the whole city to know these 2 book sales would not have happened without you. So thank you.
very much.
Be careful when you make a suggestion.
What, you do?
It was just a little comment that maybe we should have a sale.
Especially when your partner in crime can say, I'll take care of the store.
I'm going to be careful. You be careful how you receive those
Well,
suggestions.
if it had been 70 years, I would have learned.
It was a lot of work.
Incredible work.
And
Both periods.
and it grew into Ray too. Ray, it's a lot of work.
Yeah, I know. I saw him over
Dan.
there full time. Yeah.
Dan was remarkable the last days of closing down, especially. I was informed what it was like to work on the docks when you were age 14.
Dan. What's his last name?
O'Connor.
Oh my goodness.
I just told him I'm not 14, so I'm not working on the docks.
Quite a character.
Okay.
Brian, he's deaf. He tells jokes all the time, but you can't tell him a joke because he's deaf.
Maybe he never smokes.
Okay.
Library Foundation.
Okay,
report.
Chris wanted me to relay a few things. As you kind of mentioned this at our last meeting, we need to develop our website, so she's looking for content. And we do have an individual who does have experience designing websites, but the content is so she's looking for content, and then also we need to put together a print version. So that'll be something that we need to work on. And she put down here what areas of the library do we want to reach out for donations? For example, children's library, tech area, historical materials, because that'll be in the website and the print materials.
I think he's meaning financial.
Correct.
But David, are we going to know before we design the new space where we want to focus donations?
I mean, we should be able to tell you currently like what areas are less robust than others, or what we might want to build as far as in children's programming, kind of blah blah blah, whatever.
You want to talk about that after this formal meeting, just for a few minutes?
Yeah, we'll try to work on that for you.
Okay. And then let's just keep reaching out for potential volunteers.
New business. Library board member reports. Does anyone have anything to report that we haven't covered? The next regular meeting date will be June 9th. Same time, same station.
That will be very close to our moving date, so that'll be.
Oh.
11th is here.
Yeah, 11th is the last day, so.
Do we
Halloween
need to meet
weekend.
next month? Do you need us there?
Well, I'm fine with the meeting.
He's admitted to get over.
Yeah, go to
He's not.
statistics may not be actually, yeah, the statistics may not be done, but then it should be like a really good job in July with the whole year report. You know what I mean?
So reach a consensus in order to pass some statistics next month.
Okay.
Okay. If there is no further business, I hear a motion for adjournment.
So moved.
Second.
Second.
We are adjourned. You do not have to vote on a motion for adjournment.